too long. And there we go, live on YouTube. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Meditation Live. My name's Stefan Ravelli. I'm a host here at Meditation Live. I'm also a host of the Serve Conscious podcast and a meditation teacher. And I'm joined today by Corene Summers. Hi, Corene.
Hi. Thanks, everyone, for being here. My name is Corene Summers. I'm an international meditation and mindfulness instructor, as well as Reiki master and wellness coach. So happy to have you all here with us today. And welcome back to a couple of you that were in my affirmations class this morning.
Yeah, I see Barbara and Angus again. Welcome back, guys. Great to see you. So I'll just pass it over to you in a sec. First, I'll tell everyone about the app features. Definitely use the Q&A box and the chat box to interact with us, since this is an interactive discussion, and that's a real way to unlock the power of it. Just a note, you cannot use those features if you're watching us on YouTube, though we're really glad to have you there. Definitely check out the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store, or wherever you get your apps, to find the meditation.live app to be able to get online and use those features. All right, Corene, I'll pass things over to you now to give us a practice to settle in today's topic, which is on fear.
Wonderful. Well, we're just going to take a moment to bring ourselves into our bodies and into our physical space with a little bit of breath. Perfect way to set the tone for any conversation, especially one on fear. I know sometimes even just saying the word fear, you might start to experience the physical stress response or the physical response of fear, which is usually really tight, short breathing and constricted here in your chest, or even a clenching of the belly. So let's take a moment and step out of that, closing our eyes, softening our gaze, or closing our eyes completely, relaxing your shoulders, keeping your spine elongated, but then relaxing the rest of your body. You take a few deep breaths in and out. Perfect way to disrupt and move out any uncomfortable emotion. So breathing in through the nose, feel the whole front of your body and belly expand. Long, slow breath in. Nice, long, slow breath out. And if you have the privacy to do so, make it forceful. Really release. Sometimes we need power to release in the breath, to release more intense emotions like fear, anger, or frustration. Breathing in through the nose. And a few more of those breaths out through the mouth. Continue on your own, settling into a little bit of a rhythm and pace with your natural breath when you feel ready. Just now noticing that you're breathing, letting your breath slow down. Continuing to feel open in your chest, lungs, and belly. Not resisting or constricting anything. Letting your breath flow with a sense of ease and peace. Just one more moment here with your eyes softly closed. Noticing any differences in the way you feel right now versus when you first stepped into our practice. Trying to keep that sense of relaxed breath as you start to move back into the room around you. Moving your body and opening your eyes whenever it feels right to you. And welcome back.
Thank you for that, Corene, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please let us know anything you experienced in that practice that you'd like to know more about, anything that came up. Leave that in the chat box or the Q&A box. Okay, so fear. What is your perspective on it, Corene? Is it simply something that defeats us and knocks us around, or does it have a bigger role in our lives?
Great question. And honestly, I know fear, it sounds like a scary thing. Again, sometimes that word alone is enough to put people into a certain physical state. But if we let it, I believe that fear can actually be one of our biggest and best teachers in life. If we're open to learning from our fear and digging into it a little bit to see where the original source of it was, we often realize that it wasn't that scary to begin with. And it might even uncover an area that we have a lot of power, in the experiences I've had with myself and with my clients. So it can be a really powerful tool, like I said, with the right mindset.
All right. This is quite a take on fear as compared to what a lot of us think of it as, maybe just this like disease to be cured, as something that just gets in the way. But since today's topic is on transforming fear, and you do a lot of work in this space, Corene, how do we take fear and make it something that serves us?
Well, I'd like to say first that it's not easy. You're right. It's not the way that most people look at fear in today's world, especially in a world that is so consumed by fear. So I think that's something else that's important to recognize. When we turn on the TV, when we look at the news and we see what's going on in our political environments and our culturally what's going on, we're in some really intense spikes in our cultural landscape when it comes to not just politics, but here in the States, especially our education systems and our food systems, our healthcare systems, you name a system, and it probably has some brokenness to it that is being further amplified by, every time we turn on the news or listen to something, and it instills greater level of fear the more we see and are present with and taking in those kind of negative sensory things in our environment. The more we surround ourselves with those negative thoughts or allow ourselves to be afraid of something, the more we're going to create that barrier between ourselves and that thing. And the more fear will actually build over time. So, I first want to say that it's a natural, normal part of being a human to be afraid of certain things. And a lot of this comes from our conditioning and the paradigms that we grow up in, the things our parents and teachers and other people tell us to be afraid of from the time we're little kids. So don't think that it's your fault that you have fear. That's a normal thing. We transform it simply by acknowledging the things I just said, acknowledging that, hey, this probably really isn't you. This probably comes from a lot of your stories that were told to you or that you picked up along the way, or you picked up from the media or social media or the news. We have a lot of ways to take in this information now. And like I said, most of it's negative. So it's acknowledging that, hey, yeah, one, I don't necessarily need to have those fears. Where did they come from? When we start to look at where they came from and we acknowledge why they're there to begin with, that's often when, again, we find that maybe that thing was kind of silly and it wasn't really what we thought. It wasn't really what we believe. And we're able to gain power in overcoming. That's where our true strength is when we show up and we overcome something that was previously a challenge.
So, curious about, your take on the sort of essence of fear, like what's actually happening. Cause, it's a feeling that kind of goes beyond words. It's just this like overwhelming sense of dread of something bad happening. But what is triggering it? Like, what are we actually feeling? What's actually being threatened when we're experiencing fear?
Great question. And I'm actually going to go to, so I do a lot of work with the chakra system, and which is our energetic system in our bodies. We talk about them as meridians in Chinese medicine and acupuncture and chiropractic and things like that. And we talk about what's called the root chakra, which is our base, the base of our body, from the base of the spine and our lower body, our lower limbs. And it has everything to do with our safety, security, and stability. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Do you have food? Do you have water? Are you safe and secure? Do you feel like you have everything you need in your life? And do you have trust? And I think for most people these days, they don't feel like they necessarily have those things. And we've maybe even built as a society a culture or a habit of being afraid of things. One of the top, I hear this and it always makes me really sad, to be honest. I hear this from my clients all the time. I just, they're in a state where, they say, I know that there's nothing wrong, but so many things have gone wrong in my life. And so many things have been hard that when things are good, I'm still terrified that when that next thing is going to happen, that's going to go wrong. And so they're pretty much living constantly in fear. And I think in general, we're just stuck in this stress response as a culture because of the way we're living our lives and a lot of different pieces in our environment. So we just have to practice, do one thing at a time. And, all of these meditation practices, I believe in what we do here at Meditation Live. All of these meditation tools, all of these mindfulness practices can help you break into all of those different things, into rebuilding your trust, having more safety and stability and feeling, secure in your life, and breaking through those fears. Because it's a fear of not enoughness. It's almost coming from a place of lack, that something is going to go wrong or you're not going to have something that you need. It's not coming from a place of faith or trust.
Yeah, going back to Maslow's hierarchy, and feeling lacking of, some need that we have on it. Is fear more like the bottom of the pyramid, like the stuff that's like we believe to be the basic needs to keep alive? Because I know we can feel lacking of community, which is kind of like a higher order need, which can make us feel like a certain like, melancholy or malaise, but it's not the same kind of fear as in, I think I'm going to die. Like, is all fear like a threat somehow to your like the continuity of you staying alive? And if so, does it require a certain checking in of like, does this thing actually threaten my existence or just threaten maybe like my comfort levels?
Yes. Yes. You bring up an excellent point. That is a lot of what it comes down to. So when I work one-on-one with people in my private coaching practice, um, we get down to the root of it. Okay, why are you afraid of this thing? But really, every single time it comes from a place of being afraid of not having enough money to pay for the bills or to take care of your family or your children. It always comes down to one of those base, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, not enoughness, lacking in some way, and not having what you need to be safe and secure. Or it came from something in your childhood that happened where you felt that once, and then you created a memory of it, and it became a habit and a that's most of this is, it's body memory, mental memory, a trauma, something we experienced that was difficult, and maybe we didn't overcome it, or we felt like, or we perceived that we didn't overcome it. And so then it becomes a deeper rooted fear. And when we dig into it, it usually goes back to one of those base needs. And that's why it's important to dig into it, because usually what you find out is that those needs aren't actually threatened. And that's kind of the power of the private coaching too, to be honest. It's like, well, we can accomplish that pretty quickly and then look at it and you have someone else there to help you with that. Like, okay, yeah, that's kind of silly. You're fine. You're okay. You've got what you need. And it's like that breakthrough of recognizing and realizing that, okay, you're not actually threatened in the way that you thought that you were. It cuts through all the pressure. And then when you see that fear coming back to you in another area of your life, you're often able to call it out and be like, okay, I see you there. I already conquered you. I know where you come from. And you can get through it a lot quicker and overcome it in the moment, stronger and stronger and stronger as you move through life.
Right. So we can't just look at fear as this sort of like spontaneous reaction that our physiology is going to have. There's a certain like storytelling that we do that, creates and sustains fear around things that generally aren't threatening to us. And I guess it takes sometimes a third party to help reveal that we're just kind of convincing ourselves of a story. I guess it's maybe hard to see through it when we're, just ourselves witnessing these stories, because chances are we'd like to just continue to verify our own stories.
Yes, that can definitely happen sometimes. But so it's good to work with someone. But in general, meditation and mindfulness, all of these practices can help you continue to um, work through and find peace in those areas.
Yeah, Corene, I'm
I think
curious about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think our society as well tells us that we need way more than we do. And that's another part of where that fear of not enoughness comes from. Fear of not having certain things or worry around certain things. And so that can be part of it, is digging down to, do I really need this? Is this really what gives me a happy, healthy life? Or am I worried about something that, and fearful of something that it's in the end game, it's not really going to impact me.
Yeah, totally. It's like, when you're coming back to breath, you can say, hey, I have enough to be alive right now because after all, I am breathing. And that's pretty good, right? Okay, so I'm curious about your story. How in your life, meditation and mindfulness has helped transform fear, maybe some area that brought a lot of fear and you overcame that.
So many areas. Would you believe that I used to be terrified of speaking in front of people? Terrified. Could not do it. Absolutely could not do it. You see me up here in the app every day speaking on Entrepreneur Magazine and workshops and in front of groups of people and in front of boardrooms full of people. And I used to be so, so, so scared of putting myself out there and what people would think about the things that I would say, or that I would say something stupid, or that I would mess up and, fumble or, do something awkward. And guess what? All of those things have happened, every single one of them. And I got through every single one of them. And it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that big of a deal. People understand that I'm human and I make mistakes sometimes. And that's part of life. And if it helped me every time I overcame that fear, little by little, because it was a goal of mine to do certain things. And it was like interesting because I've had this happen many times throughout my life where I have a fear that could stop me from achieving a goal that I had, right? So I had goals of being able to spread my work and teach more people. I was afraid of being on video. I do a ton of video content now. All of those things were scary for me. And there were so many parts of me that didn't want to do them, and I would put them off and create excuses and put them aside. And then every single time when I just decided to show up and to just push through and just to do it, or when I got down to why I was really scared, and it was because I was worried about what people would think about me. And then I realized, well, okay, I'm worried about what people would think about me, but who I say I am as a person and the values that I'm aligned to as a person say that I love myself first, and I trust myself, and I trust that what I'm putting out there is good. And if people like it, then they like it and it resonates with them. But I'm also not the teacher for everybody. And so there's certain things that I have to just let go. So it was a balance of all of these things. And the more I've overcome, the better I feel and the less fear I have around it. So it's been really empowering. And now I conquer every fear that I see a fear and I'm like, oh, I see you. You're hiding an opportunity under you. So usually when I'm afraid of something now, I try to do it.
Amazing. Love it. Guys, I'm curious about what used to scare you. And once you faced it, turned out to be either not the boogeyman you thought it was, or also your greatest boon in your life. And I got a question here in the Q&A box from Ryan. He's saying the magic word when it comes to unnecessary fear: social media. How does it create a competition among people, leading to, unnecessary fear?
Yeah, that's what I meant earlier. We're put in a terrible position in our modern world. We are set up for fear. Literally, the entire world is just like teeing us off to be afraid of all of the things. And when we get on social media, it's very, very difficult to get out of that comparison state. But that's a process, guys. That's, our process of remembering that there's only one of each of us, and only you can be you. And if you try to be everybody else out there on social media, or try to listen to everybody else out there on social media, it's just going to take you further and further away from the true gifts that you have to offer the world. So that's why, balancing fear requires operating from a place of love and heart-centeredness for yourself, for the world around you, and even for other people. So sometimes when we're in relationships, we're afraid of people repeating the same mistakes. And, that's another area that I think this comes up a lot. We're afraid of the same thing happening again that already happened once. And we get locked into this brain memory, this body memory of this past trauma. And that's where those stories come from. And then we can almost recreate it. We're so afraid of it, we almost call it back into our lives. So it's important to recognize when we're doing that and when that's happening. And then it's a choice. It's a choice of saying, I don't want this fear. I recognize that, I see it, and I'm choosing to step into love right now. And I'm choosing to step into the possibility that this could open a door or be my teacher.
Yeah, and if you want to look at like fear as like potential fuel, to like throw into a furnace and stoke these fires of like love and self-discovery and growth, was one of the best furnaces you put things into service? Because it sounds like when you thought about, how you can be of value to others, it seemed to like catalyze the process of moving out of fear and into this place of love and self-acceptance.
I really like that. Yeah, I guess it was. It's totally aligning with, when we're providing value and we're doing our best work, the right people show up. And we spend so much time worrying about what the wrong people are going to think or the people that don't matter. And it's not to say that anybody doesn't matter. We all have value. We all have worth. We all matter. But it's none of your business what other people think about you. It matters what you think about you, and it matters, the relationship that you have with yourself and showing up for, when you're showing up for you and you're showing up for the people in your life, when you're aligned with, your core values and showing up authentically, aligned with those core values, the rest is going to work out. So there's nothing to be afraid of. You can fully fall into that place of trust and love.
Love it. Empowering stuff. Definitely. Oh, I've got a comment here from Ryan Ferber. He says, what used to scare him but doesn't anymore is his sales career. I can relate, like sales, gross. Like, ugh. Any experience with sales fear as well in your past, Corene?
Yes, actually, I was in wealth management for a long time. And if you can believe it, I was a financial advisor and we had a lot of sales goals and we used to practice, I was still afraid of public speaking. Can you believe it? Even after all the times I practiced speaking in front of a mirror in my sales training. But the most important takeaway I had from that was just a reminder of, or it's like one specific, I don't know how this exactly relates to fear. I guess it's very specific to sales training, but this number 10-3-1, for every 10 times you put yourself out there, for every 10 times you make an effort, 3 of those people will meet with you. One of those might be that one of those will become a client. So it's looking at the other 9, not as rejection, but as one step closer to your next success. So like every time I celebrate rejection now, I have somebody say no, and I'm like one step closer to my next yes. And so that was how I broke through fear of rejection. As I think the most probably important way to tie that back is remembering that, and you could apply that to dating too. It's probably the same 10-3-1. Or other things in your life, for every 10 times you put yourself out there for a job application and go to interviews or in sales or all these different areas of our lives, you're not going to land it every single time. And that's okay because you're a human. So looking at those other 9 times as your learning experience, your learning ground, the time that you break through your fears and know that win is on its way around the corner.
Yeah. And I feel that, that fear along the way, like those 9 rejections, what we internalize there is probably pretty complicated, but a lot of it has to do with, what they're thinking about us. But a lot of the times they're not thinking nearly about us, what we're thinking about ourselves, this like, annoying parasitic salesperson we worry we are. They're probably not thinking much of it and moving on with our day. And we're like, oh, I'm so annoying. They don't like me and blah, blah, blah. And that makes us
Yes.
afraid, I guess, of the process, right?
Yes, we totally get in our heads about it. And in exactly what you're saying, oh, they don't like me, or I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve this, I must not have the skills for it. And then people stop taking action and they fulfill that very prophecy because they stop asking, they stop getting on the phone, they stop taking action, then they fulfill their own prophecy of not having success. You just keep going and you just, if I can send you away with any message is to just keep going. Don't let fear hold you back. It's not as scary as we blow it up to be.
I can definitely attest in my own story, but there's no more time for that. We're already 5 minutes over. Anyone that has to
Oh
go,
boy.
definitely be on your way. But Corene, if you'd like to close things off in the last 5 minutes or so with a practice and final words on the topic.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to. I feel like I've talked enough. Instead of Speaking more on this topic, let's do one last practice in some affirmations. So we just touched a little bit here at the end on those limiting beliefs, and that a lot of times we blow up our fears to be bigger than they really are with our stories that we tell ourselves and those limiting beliefs. One of the best ways you can break through limiting beliefs is with a very powerful meditation practice, affirmations and mantras. So repeating positive things to ourselves instead of those negative limiting beliefs. So would love to just end there doing a couple affirmations with you guys. You want to take a moment to once again settle into your space. Moving around into a place of stillness. Closing your eyes to bring your attention inward. Relaxing your shoulders away from your ears. And then beginning to repeat to yourself in your mind, my courage is stronger than my fear. My courage is stronger than my fear. That courage is a stronger emotion. It can squash fear in an instant. Let your heart open. Feel what it feels like in your body to be courageous, opening your heart as you repeat a couple more times. My courage is stronger than my fear. Now beginning to repeat to yourself, I overcome my fears by following my dreams. One of the most powerful ways to overcome a fear, find something on the other end of it you're passionate about. Let yourself dream. Let your dreams be the fuel that help you overcome. Continue to repeat here on your own for a few more moments. I overcome my fears by following my dreams. I overcome my fears by following my dreams. And now repeat to yourself just one time. I let go of all fear in my mind and body. I trust and know I will be taken care of. I have everything I need. Take one last moment here to reflect on the power of those words you just spoke to yourself, we just shared together. Feel that strength in your body, your ability to overcome at any point by acting from a place of courage, from the heart center, from a state of love, and then following the things in life you care the most about. That's all I have for you guys today. You can start to make your way back to the room around you at whatever pace feels good. And thank you again so much for joining. Stefan, anything else to close us out with?
Nothing. No, you've taken us the distance, I think. I'm feeling good about today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your amazing questions and for everyone for being here. We'll see you soon. Have a happy holiday.